the current status of the Cowboys coaching search is?
Conversations are continuing with Brian Schottenheimer, their offensive coordinator. That's been going on for 3-4 days now. There are certainly people who believe that that's going to end up being Schotty's job. Pete Carroll did have contact, as our Jane Slater reported. There was a conversation there. It sounds like that was probably initiated by Pete because he was trying to, make sure that he was able to get back in. They've interviewed Robert Saleh, who I was told had a really good interview there. They interviewed Leslie Frazier for the position, and they did a Zoom with Kellen Moore. Jerry's ultimately got to decide what he wants because Jerry, going back to the conversations 2 weeks ago with Mike McCarthy, there was no time in those conversations where it seemed like Mike was not going to be back as the head coach. But with Jerry, it's been about the commitment and what is he willing to do contractually, the length of contract, how long is he tied with somebody. He definitely has interest in scenarios that would prepare a Jason Witten to take over somewhere down the line, to groom him and have him on staff and potentially make him the head coach, whether that's 2, 3, 5 years down the line, whatever it might be. There may not be a lot of coaches who are comfortable with a scenario like that. So is it possible Jerry takes us into next week and waits out, let's say, a Cliff Kingsbury, who's got a ton of ties in the state of Texas and is currently helping Jaden Daniels have a monster season and get into the NFC Championship game in Washington? There's different things that he could do, but I certainly get the sense that Jerry does not want to drag this a whole lot further than he already has. And we'll see whether they're able to cross the goal line one way or another here in the next couple of days.
And as I'm about to ask you this question, this man is currently zooming into Pat's show from a private aircraft, dressed like he's going to see Brad Daugherty play a basketball game years ago, and Bill Belichick. Does that mean Bill is staying in Carolina blue hoodies? Tom, all of this right now? What do you think?
Bill Belichick and Jerry Jones know each other well. If they wanted to accelerate this and strike a short-term deal for Bill to come in, I think that that's certainly something that Bill would entertain. But right now, this is the thing is you're running out of jobs here. Remember, Tom Brady called Bill Belichick about this job weeks ago in Las Vegas and asked him what it would take. They end up with kind of the similar type of an archetype, right? An older coach who's won a ton of games to just kind of reset the culture and maybe set the table a few years down the line for somebody else to take over. That could have been Bill. You have to wonder, and hindsight's 20/20 on these things, but if he never takes that North Carolina job, do people take it a little bit more seriously? Does he go and interview for some of these jobs? That was not a risk he was willing to take, to not have a job once again. So he's currently at North Carolina. You're down to the Saints. I don't see him going there. And the Cowboys, which, again, there's a long-standing relationship. He's one call away. But remember this about Jerry. He is a big believer that coaching isn't that important. And he's said that going back to the mid-'90s when Jimmy Johnson won the first Super Bowl. And basically Jerry's response was anybody could have coached this team to a Super Bowl. They win a second one. He fires Jimmy Johnson. They end up bringing in Barry Switzer, who wins one. And that kind of, short-term proved Jerry right. Well, in the close to 3 decades since, they haven't been to a Super Bowl. They haven't even been to an NFC Championship game. And last year he had everybody on one-year contracts. It was a hyper-stressful environment. And then he wouldn't make the type of commitment to Mike McCarthy that Mike would have wanted to stick around. If you end up hiring a Brian Schottenheimer, you're probably doing that in part because you can do that at a lower price point on a shorter-term deal. Keep some of the same guys in place. I'm not saying that's the sole reason. I don't mean to in any way discount Schotty, who's been a really good coach for a long time. He's been in a lot of different places. 15 years ago, he was the Ben Johnson. He was turning down head coaching gigs. And then, the magic kind of ran out with the Jets, and he ended up bouncing around as an OC a bunch of different places. But certainly he is qualified and he's ready for this opportunity. But if you're talking about bidding on the top head coaching candidates, frankly, it's going to be more expensive than promoting your offensive coordinator to the position. That's just how the market dynamics work here. So is there a world where Jerry could one more time decide to call Bill? I certainly think it's possible. But right now, sitting here, Rich, I don't get any sense that Jerry wants to fan out this search or think about new names that have not already been involved in the mix. A lot of that points toward potentially hiring Brian Schottenheimer. But like I said, they're continuing to talk on this. And if there's one thing we know about Jerry is he can talk and talk and talk, and it doesn't always lead to the place that you think it's going to.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.